What if the key to success, influence, and deep connection wasn't luck, but a skill you could master? This audiobook reveals the psychology behind trust, persuasion, and magnetic presence. Discover the secrets of winning hearts, shaping minds, and becoming unforgettable. Your transformation starts now. Introduction. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an instant pull towards certain people without knowing exactly why? Maybe it was the way they carried themselves, the warmth in their eyes, or the confidence in their voice. They weren't necessarily the loudest, the most successful, or even the most physically attractive person in the room. Yet, they commanded attention. They exuded a presence that made you want to listen, engage, and be around them. Now, think about the opposite. Have you ever met someone who was perfectly pleasant, well-spoken, and even intelligent, but somehow completely forgettable? Someone who, within minutes of leaving, simply faded from your mind? They may have done nothing wrong, but they also did nothing that made you feel something real. This book is about ensuring you are never that second person again. Because the truth is, success in life is not about what you know. It's about who connects with you, who believes in you, and who is willing to go the extra mile for you. Whether you want to build a thriving business, climb the corporate ladder, deepen personal relationships, or leave a lasting legacy, your ability to connect with people is the single greatest skill you can master. Unfortunately, most people never learn how to do this. They assume that connection is something you're either born with or you're not. That charisma, influence, and social intelligence are fixed traits rather than skills that can be learned, practiced, and perfected. But that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. The greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries throughout history all understood something that most people ignore. Connection is a science, influence is a skill, and relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on a set of psychological principles that, once mastered, will change the way people respond to you forever. And that's exactly what this book will teach you. Why human connection is the key to success in life and business. If you look at the most successful people in any industry, whether it's business, entertainment, politics, or sports, you'll notice a pattern. It's not always the smartest, the most talented, or even the hardest working individuals who rise to the top. It's the ones who know how to build relationships, create trust, and make others feel valued. In business, the biggest deals aren't closed because of logic alone. They happen because people trust each other. Clients don't choose the best product. They choose the brand or person they feel the strongest connection with. Promotions don't go to the most technically skilled employees. They go to the ones who make people want to work with them. And in life, the depth of your relationships determines the depth of your fulfillment. Studies on happiness consistently show that the quality of your relationships, not money, not achievements, not status, is the single biggest predictor of long-term happiness and well-being. The reality is, human beings are wired for connection. No matter how independent or introverted you are, your brain is biologically designed to seek meaningful relationships. From the moment we are born, we thrive when we feel understood, accepted, and valued. This is why mastering the art of connection is not just a nice-to-have skill. It is the foundation of everything you want in life. When you learn how to build authentic relationships, people naturally open doors for you. They introduce you to new opportunities, defend you when you're not in the room, and support your growth in ways you never expected. Your ability to influence others becomes effortless, not because you're trying to manipulate, but because people genuinely want to be around you, listen to you, and follow your lead. And that's exactly why this book exists. The Science of Social Influence and Relationship Building. The problem most people face is they don't understand the hidden forces that shape human connection. They go through life interacting based on instinct, without realizing that every conversation, every first impression and every relationship follows a predictable psychological pattern. The good news? Once you understand these patterns, you can control them. This book is built on scientifically proven principles of influence, persuasion, and deep connection, the same principles that top negotiators, world-class leaders, and master communicators use every single day. We'll dive deep into the psychological triggers that make people instantly trust and respect you, and how to use them in every interaction. The secret techniques that top influencers use to make themselves unforgettable. How to read people's emotions, even when they don't say a word, and respond in a way that makes them feel deeply understood. Why most conversations fail to create real connection, and how to fix this instantly. The little-known strategies that turn casual acquaintances into lifelong allies, and most importantly, how to implement these insights in your daily life to create real, lasting change. Because here's the reality. Most books on influence focus on abstract theories. This book is different. Every chapter in this book is built to be immediately actionable. Instead of just explaining why something works, I'll show you exactly what to say, how to say it, and when to use it to create the most powerful results. Whether you're an entrepreneur trying to attract clients, a professional looking to advance in your career, or simply someone who wants to build deeper, more meaningful relationships, this book will give you a roadmap for mastering every aspect of human connection. How to use this book: practical strategies for immediate impact. This book is designed to be used, not just read. Each chapter builds upon the last, providing you with a step-by-step framework for mastering the art of influence and connection. But you don't have to wait until the end to start seeing results. You can start applying these principles immediately. Here's how to get the most out of it. 1. Read actively, not passively. Take notes, highlight key concepts, and think about how each principle applies to your life. 2. Practice one strategy at a time. Instead of trying to implement everything at once, focus on one principle per week. Master it. Observe how it changes your interactions, and then move to the next. 3. Test and adapt. Every person you meet is different. Use these strategies as a foundation, but adjust them to fit your unique style and personality. 4. Reflect on your progress. Pay attention to how people respond to you as you apply these techniques. Are conversations flowing more effortlessly? Are people more engaged? Are you building deeper connections? The more aware you are, the faster you'll improve. Most importantly, enjoy the process. Mastering the art of connection isn't about faking relationships or trying to be someone you're not. It's about understanding people on a deeper level, creating real value in their lives, and becoming someone who naturally attracts trust, admiration, and loyalty. By the time you finish this book, you won't just be better at conversation. You'll be someone people are drawn to, someone they remember, respect, and want to be around. And that is the foundation of true, lasting influence. So let's begin. Chapter 1: The Psychology of Connection. Why some people instantly connect and others don't. Have you ever met someone and, within minutes, felt like you'd known them forever? Meanwhile, with others, no matter how hard you try, the conversation feels forced, awkward, like two puzzle pieces that just don't fit. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's human psychology at work. The ability to form deep, instant connections isn't just a talent some are born with. It's a skill, one that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. And it starts with understanding why we connect in the first place. In a world overflowing with distractions, genuine human connection has become a rare and precious commodity. We swipe through conversations, skim through messages, and multitask while talking. And yet, despite all the technological advancements, people are lonelier than ever. This isn't just speculation, it's science. Loneliness has been linked to everything from depression and anxiety to shorter lifespans and declining mental health. But here's the good news. Connection isn't about being the most charming, talkative, or outgoing person in the room. It's about understanding the hidden forces that make people feel seen, heard, and valued. So, what makes one person effortlessly likable while another struggles to hold a conversation? Why do some relationships thrive while others fizzle out despite the best intentions? The answers lie in the deep-rooted psychology of human interaction, the unspoken cues, the silent agreements, and the subconscious triggers that dictate how we relate to one another. If you've ever wanted to understand why people connect, and more importantly, how you can create meaningful relationships in every area of your life, then you're exactly where you need to be. The unspoken rules of human connection. Most people believe connection is built through words, what we say, how we say it, and how interesting we can make a conversation. But words are only a fraction of the equation. In reality, connection happens before a single word is spoken. It's in the way we make people feel, the warmth in our eyes, the ease in our posture, the subtle cues that signal, you are safe here, you matter. Harvard research suggests that people decide within seconds whether they like, trust, or feel comfortable around someone, not minutes, seconds. And what's fascinating is that most of this decision-making happens on a subconscious level. Our brains are wired to detect warmth, authenticity, and social safety before logic even kicks in. That's why you can walk into a room, lock eyes with a stranger, and immediately sense whether they're approachable or not, without a single word exchanged. Think about the most magnetic person you know. Chances are, it's not just their words that draw you in, it's their energy, the way they make you feel when you're around them. The best communicators in the world, from world-class leaders to beloved friends, have mastered one simple truth. People don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. Why some people struggle to connect and how to fix it. If human connection is so natural, why do so many people struggle with it? The answer often lies in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of being judged, misunderstood, or not interesting enough. This fear manifests in different ways. Some become overly guarded, keeping conversations surface level to avoid vulnerability. Others overcompensate, trying too hard, dominating conversations, or putting on a persona rather than being their true selves. But here's the truth. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. If you've ever held back in a conversation because you were worried about being judged, you're not alone. But what if the very thing you were afraid to share was the thing that could create the strongest bond? Some of the deepest connections happen not through polished, well-rehearsed words, but through moments of realness, the awkward laughs, the shared vulnerabilities, the me too moments that remind us we're not alone. So how do you overcome this fear? By shifting the focus from yourself to the other person. The biggest mistake people make in social interactions is worrying too much about how they're being perceived. But the secret to being instantly likable isn't trying to impress. It's making the other person feel valued. When you shift your mindset from, what do they think of me, to, how can I make them feel comfortable? Everything changes. The science behind instant connection. The brain is wired for social bonding. When we feel connected to someone, a chemical reaction takes place. Our brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which creates feelings of trust, warmth, and closeness. This is why shared laughter, physical touch, like a handshake or a pat on the back, and deep eye contact can make us feel instant rapport with someone we've just met. But here's something even more powerful. Our brains are constantly scanning for mirroring and similarity. When we see elements of ourselves in another person, shared experiences, similar body language, aligned values, it triggers a subconscious sense of familiarity. That's why mirroring, subtly matching someone's tone, body language, and energy, is one of the fastest ways to create an instant bond. In one study, researchers found that waiters who mirrored their customers' body language and tone received significantly higher tips than those who didn't. Why? Because we trust what feels familiar. And when someone subtly reflects our behavior, we instinctively feel like they get us, even if we don't consciously realize why. This is why connection isn't just about what we say. It's about what we signal. How to make people feel instantly comfortable around you. If connection happens in the first few seconds of interaction, then mastering those first few seconds is critical. Here are 3 powerful ways to make people feel at ease the moment they meet you. 1. Warm eye contact. Instead of just looking at someone, add warmth to your gaze. A genuine smile in your eyes, even before your lips move, sends an unspoken message. I see you. You're safe here. 2. Open body language. People subconsciously mirror the energy we give off. Crossed arms, stiff posture, or avoiding eye contact can signal discomfort. But relaxed shoulders, an open stance, and slight leaning signal trust. 3. Genuine curiosity. People love talking about themselves. Instead of worrying about saying the perfect thing, focus on asking thoughtful questions and truly listening. The more you make someone feel understood, the more they'll feel connected to you. The key takeaway: connection is a skill, not a talent. The biggest myth about social skills is that there's something you either have or you don't. That couldn't be further from the truth. The ability to connect deeply and effortlessly with others isn't innate, it's practiced. And like any skill, the more you understand the psychology behind it, the more natural it becomes. In this chapter, we've uncovered the core elements of connection, why people feel drawn to certain individuals, the role of nonverbal cues, and the subconscious triggers that create instant trust. But this is just the beginning. Chapter 2. The Power of First Impressions. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Before you even utter a word, before you even shake a hand or introduce yourself, decisions are being made about you. The people around you are assessing your confidence, your status, and whether or not they even want to engage with you, all in mere seconds. It feels unfair, doesn't it? That before you get the chance to showcase your intelligence, your kindness, or your unique personality, people have already made subconscious judgments about who you are. But this isn't speculation, it's science. Studies have consistently shown that humans form first impressions within 7 seconds of seeing someone new. And in many cases, the judgment happens even faster. In the blink of an eye, the human brain, wired for quick assessment and survival, scans for signs of trustworthiness, confidence, and warmth, assigning labels before logic has even had a chance to catch up. Whether in social settings, professional environments, or casual interactions, these first impressions shape the trajectory of every relationship, often dictating opportunities, friendships, and even success. What's even more fascinating is that once that first impression is set, it becomes incredibly difficult to change. The brain actively looks for information that confirms its initial judgment, filtering out anything that contradicts it. If someone perceives you as warm, approachable, and confident in those first few seconds, their brain continues to find reasons to support that belief. But if their initial impression is that you're standoffish, insecure, or uninterested, that perception lingers, often taking a monumental effort to reverse. This is why mastering first impressions is not just a social skill, but a superpower, one that can transform how people respond to you, how much influence you hold, and how effortlessly you can build connections. But here's the good news. First impressions are not left to fate. You don't have to be naturally charismatic or born with some mysterious social gift. The secret to making an incredible first impression lies in understanding the subtle, powerful signals that shape how people see you and knowing how to control them with precision. The silent signals that decide everything. Most people believe first impressions are built through words, as if the perfect opening line or a well-crafted self-introduction is the key to immediate likability. But the truth is, first impressions happen before you even open your mouth. The moment someone lays eyes on you, their brain is rapidly scanning for signals, interpreting your body language, facial expressions, and energy before logic even enters the equation. The way you walk, the way you stand, the way your face rests when you're not talking. These seemingly small details hold massive influence over how people perceive you. Research shows that over 70% of first impressions are based on nonverbal communication rather than words, meaning the weight of your presence is felt long before you even get the chance to speak. Think about the people who naturally command attention when they enter a room. It's not necessarily because they're loud or overly expressive. It's because they own their presence. Their posture radiates quiet confidence. Their facial expressions show ease and openness. They make eye contact in a way that signals warmth without intimidation. And most importantly, their energy, something that can't be faked, immediately makes people feel comfortable in their presence. This is the difference between someone who blends into the background and someone who leaves a lasting impact the moment they arrive. So what are the core signals that determine first impressions? Number 1, your posture and body language. Before people even process what you look like, they process how you carry yourself. Are your shoulders squared or are they slouched? Is your stance open and relaxed, or are your arms crossed, creating a barrier? Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's a visual language. Standing tall, keeping your chest open, and allowing your body to take up space sends an unspoken message. I am comfortable in my own skin. I belong here. On the other hand, a closed-off or hesitant posture, shoulders hunched, arms tightly folded, eyes darting around, communicates discomfort, which in turn makes others uncomfortable around you. 2, your facial expressions. Your face tells a story before your words do. A neutral or cold expression can unintentionally signal disinterest, even if that's not how you feel. Many people have an unconscious default face that makes them appear more serious or disengaged than they intend, leading to incorrect first impressions. But a simple shift, like softening the eyes, adding a slight, natural smile, and keeping an open expression, creates an immediate sense of warmth. 3, your eye contact. Eye contact is one of the strongest trust signals in human communication. It can instantly create rapport or completely derail a first impression. Too little eye contact makes you seem insecure, untrustworthy, or disengaged. Too much and it can feel overwhelming or aggressive. The key is to maintain relaxed, steady engagement, especially in those first few moments of meeting someone. How to make people instantly comfortable around you. The real secret to mastering first impressions isn't about being the most charismatic or dominant person in the room. It's about making others feel at ease in your presence. People don't remember what you say as much as they remember how you made them feel. When someone feels comfortable around you, they automatically like you more. And there are a few highly effective ways to create that comfort instantly. 1, lead with warmth, not just confidence. Many people assume confidence is the most attractive trait in first impressions. But warmth is even more powerful. Studies show that people trust and connect with those who radiate approachability rather than just dominance. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to overpower. You can signal warmth by smiling, nodding, and genuinely engaging with those around you. Number 2, match the energy of the room. One of the biggest mistakes people make is bringing the wrong energy into a situation. Walking into a quiet, serious room with over-the-top enthusiasm feels jarring. Likewise, entering a lively, high-energy setting with reserved stiffness can make you seem disengaged. Social intelligence is about adjusting, not changing yourself, but syncing your energy with the people around you. 3. Use people's names and show genuine interest. The sound of a person's own name is psychologically powerful. When you meet someone new, repeating their name within the first minute makes them feel seen and valued. Pair that with asking thoughtful questions that allow them to talk about themselves, and you've just created an instant connection. The ability to make a powerful, lasting first impression is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It influences your personal and professional relationships, determines how easily you can build trust, and affects how much influence you hold in any setting. But the key takeaway is this: you are not at the mercy of first impressions. You control them. Every interaction is an opportunity to create the kind of presence that draws people in, builds trust effortlessly, and sets you apart. And the best part? It doesn't require changing who you are. It simply requires understanding what people respond to and being intentional with your presence. Chapter 3: The Hidden Power of Active Listening and Empathy. Why you don't need to say much to be the most memorable person in the room. If there's one secret that separates those who effortlessly attract people from those who struggle to connect, it's this: the most magnetic people aren't the ones who talk the most, they're the ones who listen the best. It's a paradox that few truly understand. In a world where everyone is trying to be more interesting, the real key to connection lies in making others feel like they are the interesting one. Yet most of us miss this entirely. We assume that being liked means filling the silence, sharing our best stories, or proving how funny, smart, or impressive we are. The irony is that the harder you try to be interesting, the harder it becomes to genuinely connect with others. What most people don't realize is that listening, truly listening, has become a rare superpower in a world that's constantly shouting. How often do you feel like someone is fully present with you when you're talking? How many conversations have you walked away from feeling like the other person really saw you, not just heard your words, but understood you on a deeper level? Those moments are rare, and that's exactly why they're unforgettable. Genuine listening isn't just about hearing what someone says. It's about making them feel important without saying a single word. When someone feels deeply listened to, they automatically like you more, without even knowing why. But the truth is, most people believe they're better listeners than they actually are. If you're like most, when someone's talking, you're half listening, waiting for your turn to speak, or mentally preparing your next point. The reality is that most conversations are just two people taking turns talking, not truly connecting. That's why the rare person who listens without interrupting, without rushing to insert their own story, becomes unforgettable. This chapter isn't just about how to hear what people are saying. It's about how to listen in a way that makes people feel profoundly seen and understood. Why listening feels so rare and why it matters more than ever. We live in a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, but almost no one feels truly listened to. With social media, endless notifications, and the constant pull of distraction, the art of listening has quietly become one of the most undervalued skills of the modern age. Conversations have turned into transactions, quick exchanges of information, rather than moments of presence. Most people only half listen, treating conversations like background noise while their minds wander to their next meeting, their phone, or their own internal dialogue. And when everyone is too busy trying to be heard, what we're really missing is the connection that only comes from being understood. But there's something deeply human about the desire to be seen, to feel like our voice matters, like someone is genuinely curious about who we are beneath the surface. When you give someone your full, undivided attention, It taps into one of the oldest, most primal needs we all share, the need to feel validated. We're wired to crave connection, and feeling truly listened to triggers the same reward centers in the brain as food, money, and physical touch. This is why the best conversationalists aren't the ones who dominate the room. They're the ones who know how to create space for others to step into the spotlight. But here's the magic most people don't realize. When you become the person who consistently makes others feel heard, they can't help but associate you with warmth, comfort, and safety. People don't always remember the words you said, but they always remember how they felt in your presence. And when you make someone feel truly understood, like they could talk to you for hours without ever feeling rushed or judged, you become magnetic in a way that no amount of charm or witty conversation ever could. The difference between hearing and listening. Most people think listening is a passive act, the simple process of hearing words as they're spoken. But real listening is anything but passive. It's an active skill that requires presence, emotional awareness, and a conscious decision to put your own thoughts on hold. The difference between hearing and listening is the difference between simply registering someone's words and absorbing the deeper meaning behind them. Hearing is nodding politely while someone talks. Listening is noticing the slight tremor in their voice when they mention something painful. Hearing is waiting for your turn to speak. Listening is asking a follow-up question because you genuinely want to understand more. Hearing is surface level. Listening is empathetic curiosity. One of the most powerful ways to deepen any relationship, whether with friends, partners, clients, or even strangers, is by mastering what I call empathetic listening. This goes beyond simply paying attention. It's about stepping into the other person's world, even if only for a moment, and making them feel like they're the most important person in the room. When you listen with empathy, you're not just collecting information. You're reflecting back an unspoken message. I see you. What you're saying matters. How to make people feel deeply understood, even if you say almost nothing. There's a subtle magic that happens when someone feels truly understood, and it doesn't require grand gestures or brilliant conversation skills. It happens in small, almost invisible moments. The way you hold eye contact, the slight nods of encouragement, the gentle pauses that show you're not just waiting to speak, but genuinely soaking in what they're saying. The art of making someone feel understood comes down to 3 simple habits, each one more powerful than any words you could ever say. 1. The power of pausing. Most people rush to fill silence in conversations, afraid that pauses will make things awkward. But the truth is, those small pockets of silence are where connection actually happens. When someone finishes speaking, let a beat linger before you respond. It shows that you're not just waiting for your turn. You're processing what they've said. Those tiny pauses create a sense of emotional safety, a rare feeling in a world where most people can't wait to jump in and take the spotlight. 2. Reflective listening. One of the easiest ways to make someone feel deeply understood is to simply repeat back what they've said, not mechanically, but in your own words. If someone tells you, "I've been feeling overwhelmed with work lately," instead of jumping into advice or sharing your own experiences, try reflecting. "It sounds like there's been a lot on your plate lately." Those small reflections create an invisible thread that says, "I'm with you. I hear you." 3. Ask the second question. Most people stop at surface-level questions like, "How's work?" or "How was your weekend?" But the secret to unlocking real connection is to ask the second question, the one that gently invites someone to open up just a little more. If someone says, "Work's been busy," instead of moving on, ask, "What's been the most challenging part?" That second question is where walls start to come down, where conversations shift from polite small talk to something far more meaningful. Why empathy is the ultimate connector. Listening alone is powerful, but when you combine it with empathy, you create something far rarer: emotional connection. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's experience, not just intellectually, but emotionally. It's feeling their frustration, their joy, their anxiety, or their excitement as if it were your own. And in a world that often feels disconnected and self-absorbed, empathy is what makes people feel truly seen. But empathy isn't just about saying, "I understand." It's about showing, through your presence, your energy, and your small, subtle gestures, that you genuinely care. It's in the way you lean in just a little closer when someone shares something vulnerable. It's in the way you soften your voice when someone opens up about something painful. It's in the way you validate someone's feelings without rushing to fix or minimize them. If you want to instantly stand out in any room, if you want to create connections that feel deeper and more effortless than 99% of people ever will, learn to listen with your whole heart. The best communicators in the world aren't the ones who speak the most eloquently or tell the best stories. They're the ones who know how to make others feel truly seen. The truth is, most people are starved for real connection. They're surrounded by noise but desperate to feel heard. When you become the rare person who can offer that, when you create a space where someone feels safe, valued, and understood, you become unforgettable. And the best part? You don't have to talk more, know more, or even be more interesting. You simply have to listen more deeply than anyone else. Chapter 4: The Art of Turning Small Talk into Meaningful Conversations. Have you ever met someone and within moments, you felt like you'd known them forever? The conversation flowed seamlessly, each sentence feeding into the next, sparking curiosity, laughter, and a real sense of connection. Words weren't just exchanged, they were woven into something deeper, something that felt almost electric. You walked away from that interaction feeling energized, engaged, and maybe even surprised at how effortlessly everything unfolded. Now contrast that with the kind of conversation that feels like a slow, painful march through a desert of small talk. Each word dry, each response uninspired. The kind where both of you know you're just filling the air with words, yet there's no real substance behind them. You find yourself trapped in the usual forgettable loop. How's work? Busy, but good. How about you? Yeah, same. And then, silence. You grasp for another generic topic, the weather, the latest news, maybe even sports, before finally giving up and walking away, feeling as though you just wasted minutes of your life that you'll never get back. So, why does this happen? Why do some conversations naturally lead to deep and engaging exchanges, while others remain stuck in a cycle of forced politeness? Most people assume the difference comes down to luck or chemistry, that some people just click while others don't. But the truth is, great conversations don't happen by accident. They are crafted. The people who seem to effortlessly build connections, who make every interaction feel meaningful even with strangers, aren't just naturally gifted. They understand something most people don't. Small talk is not the problem. It's the doorway. We've been conditioned to see small talk as an obstacle, something to endure before we reach the real conversation. But that's the mistake. Small talk, when done right, isn't just filler. It's a bridge. The best conversationalists don't rush through it. They use it as an opportunity to create trust, spark curiosity, and open the door to something more meaningful. They don't just exchange words, they cultivate connection. And the good news? You don't have to be naturally charismatic or socially gifted to do this. You just need to know how to transform surface-level exchanges into conversations that people will remember long after they've ended. The hidden reason. Most conversations stay shallow, and how to fix it instantly. The reason so many conversations feel dull and repetitive isn't because the topics themselves are uninteresting. It's because most people don't give the conversation room to breathe. They skim across the surface, jumping from one predictable topic to the next, without ever diving into anything substantial. Instead of exploring a subject, they treat each exchange like a checklist. How's work? Busy. How was your weekend? Good, just relaxed. Crazy weather lately, huh? Yeah, totally. Anyway, good seeing you. And just like that, the conversation dies. Not because the topics were bad, but because they were treated as dead ends instead of open doors. There was no sense of discovery, no curiosity, no invitation to go deeper. This is what I call flat talk, conversations that skim across the surface without ever offering anything real. They feel unsatisfying because they never tap into the emotional depth that makes an exchange memorable. Now, let's look at how this same conversation could unfold if just a little more effort was put into it. How's work? Honestly, it's been a whirlwind lately. I've been handling a new project, and it's been exciting, but also a bit overwhelming. That sounds intense. What's been the most rewarding part so far? Probably seeing my team step up in ways I never expected. It's incredible to watch people grow under pressure. That's amazing. Have you found a way to balance the pressure and still enjoy the process? See the difference? The same opening question, how's work? But instead of leading to a dead end, it became a gateway to something deeper. The key? Offering just a little more detail and responding with genuine curiosity. Instead of answering on autopilot, the person gave a glimpse into their experience. And instead of responding with a simple, "That's great," the other person followed up with a thoughtful question that invited more depth. The truth is, most conversations don't need more topics. They need more depth within the topics we're already discussing. The best conversations don't happen because of what you talk about, but how you engage with the topic. And the easiest way to unlock that depth: ask better questions. The simple shift that instantly makes any conversation more meaningful. Most people ask questions that are either too broad or too transactional. They stick to safe, predictable questions that lead to equally predictable answers. The key to unlocking great conversations isn't asking more questions. It's asking questions that invite the other person to share a story, a memory, or an emotion. Instead of, "How was your weekend?" Try, "What was the best part of your weekend?" "What do you do?" Try, "What's your favorite part of what you do?" "Where are you from?" Try, "What's something interesting about where you grew up?" These subtle changes make a huge difference. They shift the focus from generic facts to personal experiences, which naturally create a richer and more engaging conversation. When you ask better questions, you give people permission to go beyond small talk, to share something real, something that actually means something to them. But asking great questions is just one part of the equation. The other, equally important piece? Listening in a way that makes people feel heard. The subtle signals that make people instantly open up. Even the best questions won't lead to meaningful conversation if the person doesn't feel comfortable opening up. The real secret to deep conversations isn't just in what you say. It's in how you make the other person feel. People will only share real thoughts and emotions if they feel they are in a space where they won't be judged, dismissed, or ignored. And that feeling comes from the small, often unnoticed cues that show you're truly present. The power of microvalidation. When someone shares something, even something small, responding with interest, "That's really interesting. I never thought about it that way," or even a simple nod and smile encourages them to keep talking. Q2, the magic of tell me more. If you ever feel a conversation dying, try these 3 words. Tell me more. It's an open-ended invitation that makes people feel valued and heard. 3. Echoing their words. Repeating a keyword or phrase. You mentioned that you love the creative side of your job. What about it excites you the most? Shows that you're actually paying attention and makes them feel understood. The difference between forgettable small talk and the kind of conversation that makes people feel something isn't about choosing the right topics. It's about choosing the right approach. When you stop treating conversations as an exchange of words and start treating them as an opportunity for discovery, you unlock a level of connection that most people never experience. And the best part? You don't have to be the most outgoing or charismatic person in the room to make this happen. You simply have to be curious, engaged, and willing to go beyond the surface. Because at the end of the day, the most meaningful conversations aren't about what you say. They're about how you make people feel. Chapter 5. The Hidden Power of Listening. How to make people feel heard, understood, and instantly connected. Why people don't really listen, and how that kills connection before it even starts. Have you ever had a conversation where you felt completely invisible? Where you were speaking, perhaps even sharing something personal or important, but the other person wasn't really there with you. They might have been nodding along, offering the occasional, uh-huh, or that's crazy. But deep down, you knew they weren't truly listening. Maybe they were waiting for their turn to talk, or maybe their eyes were darting around the room, scanning for something more interesting. Whatever it was, you could sense it. You weren't being heard. And that feeling, being unheard, unseen, unacknowledged, is one of the quickest ways to kill any sense of connection. Now think about the opposite experience. Think about the last time someone really listened to you. The last time you felt like every word you said was landing with real impact. Maybe it was a friend who locked eyes with you and leaned in as you spoke, making you feel like the only person in the room. Maybe it was a mentor who picked up on the things you didn't say and asked you about them, showing that they truly cared. Maybe it was a stranger who, within minutes, made you feel comfortable enough to share something you didn't expect to. What was the difference? It wasn't their words. It wasn't their advice. It was their presence, their ability to make you feel like, in that moment, nothing else mattered except you. That kind of listening, the kind that makes people feel valued, seen, and deeply understood, is rare. And yet, it is the most powerful tool in human connection. Most people think listening is passive, that it's just about sitting there, nodding, and not interrupting. But real listening isn't passive at all. It's active. It's intentional. It's about creating an experience where the other person feels so safe, so engaged, that they open up in ways they never would otherwise. And when you know how to do that, something incredible happens. People begin to trust you. They begin to like you. They begin to feel a connection with you that they can't quite explain, but they know it's real. The problem? Most people never develop the skill. Instead, they spend conversations trapped in their own heads, thinking about what they're going to say next, waiting for their turn to talk, or worse, completely zoning out. They don't mean to be bad listeners. They simply don't realize how much they're missing. But the truth is, your ability to listen is the single most underrated superpower in social dynamics, one that can transform not only the way people see you, but the way they feel around you. And once you master it, you'll unlock a level of connection that most people will never experience. The biggest mistake people make when they listen, and how to fix it instantly. The reason most people are terrible listeners isn't because they don't care. It's because they're focused on the wrong thing. Instead of actually absorbing what the other person is saying, they're busy preparing their own response. You've seen it happen. You start telling a story, and before you've even finished, the other person jumps in with their own version of it. I just got back from Italy. It was an amazing trip. Them. Oh wow, I went to Italy last year. Did you go to Rome? I had the best pasta there. Oh, and Florence. let me tell you about the time I got lost in Florence." And suddenly, the conversation isn't about you anymore. It's about them. Now, they didn't do this to be rude. In their mind, they're connecting with you, sharing a similar experience, showing enthusiasm. But what actually happened? They took the focus away from you and put it on themselves. And while it may seem harmless, this tiny mistake is one of the fastest ways to make someone feel unheard. The fix? Stop making everything about you. The best listeners don't hijack conversations. They let the other person fully express themselves before bringing in their own experiences. Instead of immediately relating everything back to yourself, try something different. Instead of, "That happened to me too," try, "That sounds incredible." What was that like for you? Instead of, "I totally get it. Here's what I did." Try, "That must have been tough. How did you handle it?" Instead of jumping in with advice, try pausing and asking, "Do you just want to vent? Or are you looking for suggestions?" This small shift is powerful. It tells people, "This isn't about me. It's about you. And I genuinely want to hear what you have to say." The 3 levels of listening and how to reach the deepest one. Most people assume listening is binary. You're either doing it or you're not. But in reality, there are 3 levels of listening, and only one of them actually creates deep connection. Level 1, passive listening, barely there. This is the lowest level of listening, and unfortunately, it's where most people operate. They hear the words, but they're not really absorbing them. They might nod, they might say, "Yeah," or "Right," but inside, their mind is elsewhere, thinking about their to-do list, what they'll say next, or whether they should check their phone. People at this level may seem like they're listening, but deep down, the person speaking can feel that they're not really present. Level 2, active listening, engaged, but self-focused. This is better. At this level, you're actually paying attention. You're making eye contact, nodding, giving verbal affirmations. But there's still a flaw. You're focused on how the conversation relates to you. You're waiting for a moment to jump in, to add your perspective, to share a similar story. While this can still create a decent conversation, it doesn't make people feel deeply heard, because at the end of the day, the focus is still on you. Level 3, reflective listening, where deep connection happens. This is the level where true connection is built. Instead of listening to respond, you're listening to understand. You're not thinking about your next words. You're fully immersed in what they're saying. You reflect their emotions back to them. You pick up on what's not being said. You ask deeper questions, not to fill space, but because you genuinely want to know more. When you listen at this level, something amazing happens. People feel it. They sense that you're different. They begin to trust you in a way they don't trust most people. And that trust, that's where real connection is born. The irony of great conversation is this: it's not about talking, it's about listening. The best communicators aren't the ones who say the most interesting things. They're the ones who make other people feel interesting. They create a space where people feel safe, heard, and understood. And that feeling is rare. So if you want to instantly deepen your relationships, if you want to be the person people gravitate toward, open up to and trust. Forget trying to impress with your words. Instead, focus on mastering the art of listening. Because in a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the person who truly listens is the person everyone wants to be around. Chapter 6. The magnetic pull of charismatic people. How to make every interaction memorable. Why some people light up a room and others go unnoticed. You've seen it happen. The moment they walk in, the energy shifts. Heads turn, conversations pause for a split second, and without a single word spoken, they command attention. They aren't necessarily the loudest person in the room, nor are they trying too hard, yet people naturally gravitate toward them. Strangers feel an inexplicable pull. Friends are drawn closer. Opportunities seem to fall into their lap effortlessly. It's almost as if they possess an invisible force field that makes everything about them more engaging, more magnetic, more alive. And then there are others, the ones who, no matter how hard they try, seem to blend into the background. They speak, but their words don't land with impact. They enter a conversation, but the energy remains the same. It's not that they are boring or lack intelligence. It's just that something is missing. That spark, that undeniable presence that makes people lean in instead of look past them. So what is it? What separates the people who effortlessly draw others in from those who struggle to leave an impression? Most assume it's luck. That charisma is something you're either born with or without. But that belief couldn't be further from the truth. Magnetism isn't a gift, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, refined, and mastered if you know what to focus on. Because here's the secret. Charismatic people aren't special. They just know how to make people feel special. They understand that human connection isn't about them. It's about the experience they create for others. They know how to spark intrigue, evoke emotion, and engage on a level that most people never tap into. And the best part? Once you learn how to do this, the way people respond to you will change instantly. The biggest misconception about charisma and why most people get it wrong? Ask someone what it means to be charismatic, and you'll likely hear the same tired cliches. Be confident. Be outgoing. Tell great stories. And while these things can help, they completely miss the mark on what truly makes someone magnetic. Real charisma isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's not about cracking jokes or dominating conversations. In fact, some of the most charismatic people in history, think Mahatma Gandhi, Princess Diana, or even Keanu Reeves, are known for their quiet, understated presence. So if it's not about volume, what is it? Charisma is the ability to make people feel something powerful in your presence. It's about creating an emotional impact, one that lingers long after you're gone. And the way to do that? It's not by talking at people. It's by making them feel seen, valued, and deeply understood. Most people walk through life feeling invisible, like their thoughts, their experiences, and their emotions don't really matter. But charismatic people? They have a way of breaking through that. When they talk to you, it's not just casual small talk. It feels like an experience. You walk away feeling a little more alive, a little more understood, and without even realizing it, you begin to crave that energy again. This is the core of true magnetism. Not performing, not trying to be impressive, but making others feel so good in your presence that they naturally want to be around you. The 3 pillars of magnetic presence. Charisma isn't a one-size-fits-all formula, but it does have a structure. And if you want to develop a presence that draws people in effortlessly, you need to master 3 key elements. Number 1, captivating energy. This isn't about bouncing off the walls with excitement. It's about learning how to control and direct the energy you bring into a space. Charismatic people have a way of amplifying the energy of those around them, making interactions feel more alive, more dynamic, and more meaningful. They aren't drained or distracted. They don't bring tension or stress into a room. Instead, they create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable, engaged, and intrigued. And they do this by mastering emotional resonance, matching the energy of a conversation before subtly elevating it. If someone is feeling excited, they reflect that enthusiasm. If someone is sharing something serious, they lower their energy to create space for depth. This adaptability makes every interaction feel seamless, natural, and magnetic. 2. The art of intriguing conversation. Charismatic people don't just talk, they engage. They don't rely on stale, predictable small talk. They introduce thought-provoking ideas, ask questions that spark curiosity, and share stories that pull people in. Instead of, "How's your day? What do you do for work?" they ask, "What's the most exciting thing that happened to you today? What's something you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?" These questions create emotional engagement, the kind that makes conversations unforgettable. 3. Deep, undivided attention. Perhaps the most overlooked pillar of charisma is presence. In a world filled with distractions, giving someone your full attention is one of the rarest and most powerful things you can do. Magnetic people don't check their phone mid-conversation. They don't scan the room while you're speaking. They don't interrupt or steer the topic back to themselves. They make you feel like, in that moment, nothing matters more than what you're saying. And that feeling? It's addictive. It makes people crave your presence, not because of what you say, but because of how they feel when they're around you. How to activate your magnetic presence instantly. The good news? You don't need years of practice to start making an impact. There are small but powerful shifts you can make today that will instantly change how people respond to you. 1. Slow down your speech. Ever notice how truly charismatic people never seem rushed? That's because they speak deliberately, creating a rhythm that makes people lean in. Fast talkers tend to sound nervous or uncertain, but when you slow down, pausing at key moments, you create intrigue and authority. 2. Hold eye contact just a little longer. Most people break eye contact too soon, fearing it will feel awkward. But the trick is to hold it just half a second longer than feels natural. This creates an unspoken connection that makes interactions more engaging, more intimate, and more memorable. 3. Use people's names more often. It's a simple psychological hack. People love hearing their own name. When you weave it naturally into conversation, it makes the interaction feel personal and strengthens the bond instantly. 4. Mirror body language. Subtly charismatic people naturally sync their body language with the person they're talking to, matching their posture, gestures, and energy level. This creates an unspoken sense of connection that makes interactions feel effortless. The truth is, people won't always remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Charisma isn't about performance. It's not about being the funniest, the loudest, or the most entertaining. It's about creating an experience that people can't help but want to return to. Because at the end of the day, what makes someone magnetic isn't a secret trick. It's a simple truth. When you make people feel important, they will remember you forever. Chapter 7. The Power of First Impressions. How to make people like you instantly. Why people judge you in seconds, and how to control the narrative. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. You haven't said a word, yet judgments are already being formed. Some people see you and feel an instant pull, as if there's something intriguing about you they can't quite put their finger on. Others glance your way and immediately dismiss you as uninteresting or unimportant. And the most unsettling part? These split-second impressions, formed in mere moments, often dictate how people treat you for years to come. It sounds unfair, but it's a psychological reality. People decide who you are before you even open your mouth. They assess your confidence, your warmth, your trustworthiness, often within the first 7 seconds of meeting you. And once that impression is set, changing it is an uphill battle. It's why some people seem to effortlessly command respect, attention, and admiration from the very first handshake, while others struggle to be noticed no matter how hard they try. But here's the good news. First impressions aren't left to chance. There's something you can control, shape, and master. If you understand what actually influences how people perceive you and how to subtly guide those perceptions, you can walk into any room and create an instant sense of trust, likability, and intrigue. You can ensure that when people meet you, their gut reaction isn't neutral or forgettable. It's positive, magnetic, and lasting. Most people don't realize that small, almost imperceptible behaviors are making or breaking their first impressions. The way you walk into a room, how you make eye contact, the slight hesitation in your handshake, the tiny fluctuations in your vocal tone. All of these things send subconscious signals that people interpret before they've even had a real conversation with you. And because these judgments happen so fast, people often don't even realize why they feel a certain way about someone. But you? Once you understand how to make those first few moments work in your favor, you'll start to notice a shift. People will respond differently to you. They'll warm up to you faster, engage with you more openly, and treat you with an unspoken level of respect. And the best part, you won't have to change who you are, just the way you present yourself. The 3 elements of an unforgettable first impression. Creating an instant, positive first impression isn't about being the most charming person in the room. It's not about having the perfect one-liner or the most impressive backstory. It all comes down to 3 core elements that determine how people feel about you the moment they meet you. 1. Presence, the silent signal that you belong. The first thing people notice about you isn't what you say. It's the energy you bring into a room. Without a single word spoken, people can sense whether you are comfortable in your own skin, whether you expect to be welcomed, and whether you're worth paying attention to. When you walk into a room with hesitant body language, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes scanning nervously, movements that seem unsure, people subconsciously assume you're someone who lacks confidence or authority. But when you enter with an air of quiet self-assurance, shoulders back, head high, movements smooth and deliberate, people feel it. It tells them, this is someone I should notice. This is why the world's most captivating people don't demand attention. They simply act as though they already have it. They don't rush into a space, trying to insert themselves into conversations. They enter with a relaxed, unhurried presence. They take their time scanning the room, making eye contact with the right people, positioning themselves in a way that feels natural and assured. They don't seek approval. They assume they belong. And that assumption, it makes others believe it too. 2. Eye contact, the instant trust booster. If there's one thing that can instantly make or break a first impression, it's eye contact. Too little and you seem unsure, disinterested, or even deceptive. Too much and you come across as aggressive or unnerving. The key is finding the perfect balance, one that communicates confidence, warmth, and sincerity, all at once. When you meet someone for the first time, don't be the first to break eye contact. Instead, hold it just half a second longer than feels natural. This slight extension has an almost imperceptible but profound effect. It signals presence, attentiveness, and genuine interest. People who can maintain steady, comfortable eye contact are instantly perceived as more charismatic, trustworthy, and engaging. Another trick? When introducing yourself, soften your gaze slightly. Imagine you're looking at an old friend rather than a stranger. This micro-adjustment prevents your eye contact from feeling too intense while still maintaining the magnetic pull of deep engagement. 3. Voice and tone, the hidden key to instant influence. Most people focus on what they say, but the truth is, how you say it matters far more. Studies have shown that when people form first impressions, only 7% of their judgment is based on your actual words, while a staggering 38% comes from your tone of voice. Think about the people you're naturally drawn to. They don't just speak, they engage. Their voice has a rhythm to it, dynamic, expressive, full of warmth and life. They don't mumble, rush their words, or let their sentences trail off in uncertainty. Instead, they project their voice with clarity and purpose. If you want people to instantly like and respect you, slow down your speech slightly. Enunciate your words with a calm, steady cadence. Lower your pitch just a little. Higher voices can sometimes signal nervousness, while slightly deeper tones convey authority and confidence. And most importantly, inject emotion into your voice. People respond to energy, enthusiasm, and sincerity far more than they do to the actual content of your words. How to make an instant connection in 60 seconds. Once you've mastered the 3 elements above, the next step is sealing the connection. A strong first impression doesn't just make people notice you. It makes them feel something positive in your presence. And to create that feeling, you need to establish rapport quickly and effectively. Move 1. Use the triad greeting. The moment you're introduced to someone, combine 3 things simultaneously. A genuine smile, one that reaches your eyes. A firm but warm handshake, not too weak, not too crushing. A clear, confident introduction. It's great to meet you as name. This simple triad sets the tone for the entire interaction, making you instantly likable and memorable. 2. Mirror their energy. Subtly. People are naturally drawn to those who feel familiar, and one of the fastest ways to create that sense of familiarity is mirroring. Without making it obvious, subtly match their tone, speech patterns, and body language. If they're animated and expressive, lean into that energy. If they're more reserved and composed, dial your own energy down slightly. This subconscious synchronization makes people feel an instant sense of comfort and connection. 3. Give a genuine, specific compliment. Forget generic praise like, "Nice to meet you," or "I like your shirt." Instead, offer a compliment that feels specific and thoughtful. "You have a really engaging way of speaking. I can see why people love talking to you. I love how you phrased that. You clearly have a way with words." People rarely forget the way someone made them feel, and nothing creates a lasting impression faster than making someone feel seen, valued, and appreciated. Most people go through life unaware of the silent judgments being made about them in every interaction. But the ones who understand the power of first impressions, they shape their own narrative. They ensure that when people meet them, they don't just see a face in the crowd. They see someone worth knowing. Chapter 8. The Hidden Power of Listening. How to make people feel heard, understood, and valued. The conversation mistake that pushes people away without you even realizing it. There's a reason most people feel lonely, even in a crowded world. It's not that they don't have enough people around them. It's that, deep down, they don't feel heard. They talk, but no one truly listens. They share, but the responses feel shallow. They open up only to be met with distractions, interruptions, or someone waiting for their turn to speak. It's one of the great paradoxes of human interaction. Everyone wants to feel understood, yet so few people know how to give that experience to others. And here's the real kicker. Most people believe they're great listeners, but they're not. They nod, they respond, they even make eye contact. But if you asked the person they were speaking with, the experience would feel completely different. Because true listening, the kind that makes people feel deeply valued, isn't just about hearing words. It's about making the other person feel like, in that moment, nothing else in the world matters more than what they're saying. It's about creating a space where they don't just talk, they feel felt. This is where most people go wrong. They think listening is a passive skill, something that just happens while someone else speaks. But in reality, great listening is an active, deliberate act of connection. And the people who master it, they hold a rare kind of influence, because the ability to make someone feel heard is the ability to make them trust you, like you, and open up to you in ways they never would with anyone else. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you, not just heard your words, but made you feel understood in a way that was almost magnetic. That kind of presence is rare, And when you learn how to give it to others, you become the person people feel drawn to, the one they confide in, the one they respect, admire, and want to be around. Because in a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, the most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who knows how to listen. Why most conversations feel superficial, and how to fix it instantly. Most interactions feel off, not because people don't care, but because they don't know how to make others feel valued. They ask questions, but they don't really listen to the answers. They respond, but their mind is already forming the next thing they want to say. And worst of all, they make the conversation about themselves. It happens in subtle ways. Someone shares a story about their recent vacation, and instead of asking about their experience, the listener jumps in with their own travel story. A friend talks about a struggle they're facing, and instead of sitting with them in that moment, the response is a quick, "Oh, I totally get it," followed by a story about their similar problem. A coworker shares an idea in a meeting, and instead of fully engaging, others are distracted, waiting for their turn to contribute. The intention isn't bad. Most people think relating their own experiences is a way of connecting. But in reality, these habits do the opposite. They shift the spotlight back onto themselves, making the other person feel unseen, unheard, and unimportant. And over time, these small moments add up. People start to feel disconnected, even in the closest of relationships. But the good news, fixing this is easier than you think. The moment you stop listening to respond and start listening to understand, the entire dynamic of your conversations shifts. The moment you train yourself to be fully present, not half engaged, not waiting for your turn, but deeply in the moment, people feel it. And when they feel it, they open up in ways they never have before. The 3 levels of listening, and why most people never go beyond level 1. Not all listening is created equal. In fact, most people operate only at the surface level, never tapping into the deeper forms of connection that make conversations truly transformative. Understanding these levels is the key to unlocking relationships that feel more meaningful, engaging, and powerful than ever before. Number 1. Passive listening, the default mode. Most people get stuck in. This is where most people live. They hear the words being said, but they aren't fully absorbing them. Their mind is half elsewhere, thinking about what they want to say next, distracted by their phone, or mentally disengaged. They nod, they make sounds of acknowledgement, but the conversation never goes deeper because their presence isn't fully there. Passive listeners don't realize it, but people feel when they aren't being fully heard. And when someone senses that, they naturally start holding back. They share less. They trust less. The connection weakens, even if the words keep flowing. 2. Active listening, where true connection begins. This is where people start to feel seen. Active listeners aren't just hearing words, they're fully engaged in the moment. They maintain steady eye contact, they give verbal and nonverbal cues of understanding, and they show they are absorbing the conversation in real time. They also reflect back what they hear. So what you're saying is, "That must have felt frustrating. What happened next? It sounds like this really meant a lot to you." These small moments of validation make the speaker feel deeply understood, which in turn makes them feel closer to the listener. 3. Empathic listening, the rarest and most powerful level. This is where true influence happens. Empathic listeners go beyond just understanding the words. They tune into the emotion behind them. They don't just listen to what someone is saying. They listen to what they aren't saying. The pauses, the hesitations, the shifts in tone that reveal the real depth of a person's thoughts and feelings. Empathic listeners create a space where people feel safe to be completely real, to share their deepest thoughts without fear of judgment. And because of this, they build relationships that are unshakable. They become the people others turn to in moments of joy, struggle, and uncertainty. Not because they always have the perfect response, but because they provide the rarest gift of all, the feeling of being truly heard. How to become the person everyone loves. Talking to the fastest way to transform your relationships is to become someone who makes people feel good in conversation, not because you always have the most interesting stories, not because you know all the right things to say, but because you know how to make them feel important, valued, and understood. 1. Practice the 2-second pause. Most people are so eager to respond that they jump in the second someone finishes speaking. Instead, train yourself to pause for 2 seconds before you reply. This small shift does 2 things. It shows the speaker that you're actually thinking about what they said, rather than just waiting for your turn. It gives them space to elaborate, because sometimes what they don't say right away is just as important as what they do. 2. Ask one more question than feels natural. When someone shares something with you, instead of moving on, get curious. What was that like for you? What made you feel that way? Tell me more about that. People rarely get the chance to go deeper in conversation, so when someone gives them that space, they remember it. 3. Listen with your whole body turned toward them. Lean in slightly. Nod in a way that shows engagement. Let your facial expressions match the energy of the conversation. Because listening isn't just about hearing. It's about making someone feel like, in that moment, nothing else matters more than them. At the end of the day, people don't remember conversations because of what was said. They remember how they felt in your presence. And when you master the rare skill of making people feel truly heard, you become the kind of person they can't help but want to be around. Chapter 9. The Science of Likability. How to make anyone feel instantly comfortable around you. The little-known secret to becoming instantly likable, even if you're not naturally charismatic. Imagine walking into a room where you know no one. You scan the crowd, looking for a friendly face, someone who might make you feel at ease. Then suddenly, you notice a person who seems to have a gravitational pull. They aren't the loudest, nor are they demanding attention. But something about them, the way they carry themselves, the way they make others laugh, the way people naturally gravitate toward them, makes you want to be around them. This person isn't just liked, they are magnetic. And the crazy thing? It has nothing to do with good looks, wealth, or even being the funniest person in the room. The real secret to likability is something far more powerful and surprisingly simple. It's how you make people feel about themselves when they are around you. Most people make a fundamental mistake in social situations. They focus too much on trying to be interesting rather than interested. They worry about saying the perfect thing, impressing others with their stories, or coming off as smart and funny. But the truth is, the people we find most irresistibly likable aren't those who talk the most or have the most impressive achievements. They are the ones who make us feel seen, heard, and valued. Likability isn't something you are born with. It's something you create in the way you interact with others. And once you understand the science behind it, you can walk into any room, approach any group, and leave people thinking, I don't know why, but I just really like them. The Likability Blueprint. What instantly draws people to you, and what pushes them away? It's easy to assume that likability is random, that some people just have it, while others don't. But in reality, the way people perceive you is shaped by a few key behaviors. And once you understand these, you can instantly become someone people love being around. Number 1. The warmth over wit principle. Most people think that being likable means being the funniest or most charming person in the room. But research shows that warmth is far more important than wit. People don't remember what you said as much as how you made them feel. Smiling genuinely when you greet someone, instantly makes you more approachable. Using people's names early in a conversation makes them feel recognized. Mirroring body language subtly builds a sense of connection and trust. The reason warmth works is simple. Humans are wired for emotional safety. If you make people feel comfortable and accepted, they will automatically want to be around you. It's why the most likable people make you feel at ease within seconds of meeting them. 2. The energy you bring to conversations. You've probably had conversations where, after talking to someone, you felt completely drained. They weren't necessarily rude, but something about their energy just made you feel heavy. Then there are those people who, after even a short chat, leave you feeling uplifted and energized. This isn't an accident. People naturally mirror the emotional energy of those around them. If you approach conversations with a sense of curiosity, enthusiasm, and positivity, people will associate you with feeling good. And when someone makes us feel good, we want more of them. 3. The art of spotlight shifting. Here's a harsh truth. Most people walk around seeing conversations as a competition for attention. They listen just long enough to find a way to turn the topic back to themselves. And while this may seem natural, it's actually a huge likability killer. The most likable people do the opposite. Instead of taking the spotlight, they subtly shift it onto the other person. They make them feel like the most interesting, funny, and valued person in the room. They do this by asking open-ended questions that invite people to talk about themselves, giving genuine compliments that highlight unique qualities, encouraging people to share their experiences and opinions. When you make someone feel like they are the most fascinating person in the conversation, they will walk away thinking you are the most interesting person they've met. Why people instantly like or dislike you, the science behind first impressions. The truth is, people don't take long to decide whether they like you. In fact, studies show that it takes less than 7 seconds for someone to form an impression of you. And once that impression is formed, it's incredibly hard to change. So what actually happens in those first few moments? The human brain is scanning for 2 things. Number 1, is this person safe? Before anything else, our brain's primary job is survival. When we meet someone new, our subconscious immediately tries to determine, is this person a threat or are they safe? This isn't just about physical danger. It's about emotional and social safety too. People who come off as judgmental, defensive, or overly self-focused trigger a feeling of unease. On the other hand, people who are open, non-judgmental, and genuinely interested in others make us feel safe, and we naturally trust them more. 2. Do I feel good around them? Likability isn't just about who you are. It's about how people feel when they are with you. The brain has something called the mirror neuron system, which means we unconsciously match the emotions of the people we're around. If someone is warm, open, and inviting, we feel comfortable and relaxed. If someone is tense, guarded, or negative, we feel uneasy, even if we don't know why. This is why people who are genuinely likable aren't just focused on what they say. They're focused on the energy they bring into a room. They radiate warmth, make people feel valued, and naturally draw others toward them. How to make anyone like you in 30 seconds or less. Now that you understand the science behind likability, let's talk about how to apply it in real life. Emerge 1. Make eye contact and hold it. Just a second longer. Most people underestimate the power of eye contact, but studies show that holding eye contact just slightly longer than normal creates an instant sense of connection. It signals confidence, presence, and genuine interest. 2. Give a compliment that goes beyond the surface. Instead of the typical "nice shirt" or "I like your shoes," try something that makes the other person feel seen. "I noticed how you handled that situation earlier. That was really impressive." You have such an interesting perspective on things. I love hearing your take on stuff like this. Number 3, use the power of yes and. Instead of shutting conversations down with short responses, build on them. When someone shares something, respond with curiosity. Them. I just got back from Spain. You. That's amazing. What was your favorite part of the trip? The more you invite people to open up, the more they associate you with positive emotions. At the end of the day, being likable isn't about being the most charismatic person in the room. It's about being the person who makes others feel good about themselves. If you can master this, people won't just like you, they'll be drawn to you. They won't just enjoy talking to you, they'll seek you out. Because in a world where everyone wants to be heard, understood, and appreciated, the rarest and most powerful gift you can give is to make someone feel truly valued. Chapter 10. The Subtle Power of Influence. How to get people to say yes without force or manipulation. The secret to getting what you want without anyone realizing you're doing it. Imagine walking into a negotiation, a job interview, or even just a simple conversation where you need something, whether it's agreement, approval, or action from another person. You've carefully chosen your words, you've rehearsed your arguments, and you're ready to persuade. But within minutes, you realize something is wrong. The other person isn't convinced. Worse, they seem to be resisting you even more than before. You leave frustrated, wondering, what did I do wrong? You had logic, facts, and a strong case, so why didn't they agree? The answer is simple. Most people approach influence the wrong way. They assume that persuasion is about convincing others with words, but in reality, the most powerful influencers don't persuade through direct argument at all. Instead, they use a far more effective strategy. They create the conditions where people naturally want to agree with them. This is the difference between pushing and pulling. When you push people, they push back. But when you subtly guide them toward a conclusion, making them feel like they reached it on their own, they embrace it fully. This is the art of influence without force, and once you master it, you'll find that people start saying yes to you, not because you pressured them, but because they wanted to. The psychology of agreement. Why people say yes or no. Without even realizing it, most people believe they make decisions logically. They assume they weigh the pros and cons, analyze the facts, and come to a rational conclusion. But science tells a different story. The truth is, most of our decisions, especially when it comes to saying yes or no, are driven by subtle psychological triggers that we aren't even aware of. 1. The "I decided this myself" effect. People hate feeling controlled. The moment they sense someone is trying to persuade them, their defenses go up. This is known as the reactance effect, our natural resistance to being told what to do. But if you make someone feel like they are making a decision on their own, they will embrace it completely. This is why the most persuasive people don't force their ideas on others. Instead, they lead them toward the idea and let them discover it themselves. How do you do this? Instead of telling people what to think, ask questions that make them come to the right conclusion on their own. Instead of saying, "You should buy this product," say, "What would it mean for you if you could save an extra 2 hours every day?" Instead of saying, "You need to change your approach," say, "What do you think would happen if you tried this method?" This subtle shift makes all the difference. When people feel ownership over an idea, they don't just accept it, they defend it. 2. The "people like me do this" principle. Humans are wired to follow social proof. If we see others like us doing something, we instinctively believe it must be the right choice. This is why product reviews, testimonials, and even long lines outside restaurants make people trust something more. But in influence, social proof is most powerful when it's personal. If you can show someone that people like them, have already embraced your idea, they will be far more likely to say yes. This is why the best persuaders tell stories. Real, relatable examples of people just like their audience who have already made the decision and benefited from it. Instead of saying, "This strategy works," tell a story. I had a friend in your exact situation. He was struggling with the same issue, but once he tried this, he completely changed the way he worked, and now he's getting double the results. When people see themselves in a story, they stop resisting and start imagining themselves in the same success story. And once they see it as a natural choice, saying yes becomes easy. 3. The effortless yes formula. The easiest way to get a yes, make it effortless. People resist saying yes when it feels like too much work. But if you make the first step ridiculously easy, they'll take it. Because small actions lead to bigger commitments. This is known as the foot in the door effect. Once someone agrees to a small step, they are far more likely to agree to a bigger one. Instead of asking for a huge commitment up front, start with something small. Instead of buy this program, try download this free guide and see if it helps. Instead of let's meet for an hour, try can we hop on a quick 5-minute call? Instead of completely change your approach, try would you be open to testing this idea for just one day? Once someone takes that first small step, they feel internally committed. And from there, saying yes to the next step and the next feels natural. How to get a yes in any situation without sounding pushy or manipulative. Now that you understand the psychology behind influence, let's talk about how to apply it in real conversations. 1. Make it feel like their idea. Instead of pushing your perspective, ask questions that guide them toward it naturally. Instead of saying, "You should do this," ask, "What do you think would happen if you tried this approach?" 2. Show, don't tell. Instead of making claims, show proof. Use real examples, testimonials, or stories of people just like them who benefited from the idea. When people see proof, they trust the idea more. 3. Lower the resistance by making it easy. If someone hesitates, don't push, simplify. Reduce the decision to something small, effortless, and risk-free. When people feel there's no downside to saying yes, they are far more likely to. 4. Subtly reinforce their identity. People make decisions based on who they believe they are. If you can connect your idea to their identity, they will embrace it faster. Instead of saying, "You should do this," say, "You seem like someone who really values efficiency. This could be perfect for you." The most influential people in the world don't demand, pressure, or manipulate. They don't argue people into submission or push their ideas aggressively. Instead, they understand a simple truth. People will always resist being told what to do, but they will fully embrace an idea if they feel like they discovered it themselves. Once you master this subtle shift, everything changes. Conversations stop feeling like battles. You no longer feel the need to convince people. Instead, you create the conditions where saying, Chapter 11, The Unspoken Language of Influence, How to Read and Control Social Dynamics Without Saying a Word. The silent power that makes people respect and follow you, even if you never say a word. Picture this. You step into a crowded room, and without uttering a single syllable, the people around you take notice. Conversations subtly shift in your direction. Some glance at you, others unconsciously straighten their posture, as if adjusting themselves to your presence. And then, as you move through the space, people instinctively create room for you, not out of intimidation, but out of an unspoken acknowledgement that you hold a presence they respect. What's happening here? It isn't magic, and it certainly isn't coincidence. It's the power of nonverbal influence, the silent force that dictates how people perceive and respond to you long before you open your mouth. And make no mistake, mastering this invisible language is the difference between those who struggle to gain respect and those who command attention effortlessly. Most people obsess over what to say in social and professional situations, but they overlook something far more important. People decide how they feel about you before you even speak. In fact, research shows that over 90% of human communication is nonverbal, a combination of body language, facial expressions, energy, and subtle cues we don't even realize we're projecting. But here's the good news. If you understand how nonverbal influence works, you can control it. You can walk into any room, meeting, or conversation and radiate confidence, credibility, and authority, not by forcing it, but by subtly shifting the energy you exude. And when you do this, you don't have to chase people's approval or force conversations. Instead, people naturally feel drawn to you. This is the secret behind those individuals who seem to effortlessly gain influence, make connections, and command respect. And today, you're going to learn how to become one of them. Why people instantly respect some individuals and completely ignore others. The truth is, social dynamics aren't as random as they seem. There's a silent hierarchy in every interaction, a subconscious ranking system that determines who gets listened to, who gets dismissed, and who people instinctively follow. And the surprising part? It has nothing to do with status, wealth, or even intelligence. The real factor that determines whether people respect you or not is something much deeper, something primal that every human brain picks up on instantly. Number 1. The unshakable presence factor. Imagine you're in a conversation with two people. One seems slightly restless. They fidget, shift their weight, and glance around as if they're waiting for someone more important to talk to. The other stands with grounded ease, their gaze steady, their movements deliberate. Even before they speak, you feel the difference. This is the power of presence. People who exude presence don't rush, they don't fidget, and they don't shrink themselves. Instead, they project a calm, composed energy that instantly signals, I am someone worth paying attention to. The key to this? Control over your body. When you slow your movements, hold steady eye contact, and occupy space with relaxed confidence, people subconsciously perceive you as more competent, self-assured, and influential. 2. The high-status stillness technique. There's a reason powerful leaders, high-level executives, and respected figures rarely seem frantic or hurried. They move with a sense of deliberate stillness, a controlled energy that radiates authority. This is a technique known as high-status stillness, and it's one of the fastest ways to command respect without saying a word. Here's how you use it. Minimize unnecessary movement. Don't fidget, adjust your clothing repeatedly, or shift your weight too much. Pause before responding. Instead of rushing to fill silence, take a deliberate second to consider your words. This conveys depth and thoughtfulness. Slow your gestures. Avoid jerky, frantic movements. Instead, move with relaxed precision, as if every action is intentional. When you master stillness, people don't just listen to you. They instinctively perceive you as someone worth following. 3. The magnetic gaze phenomenon. Think about the most charismatic person you've ever met. Chances are, they had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. This isn't just about eye contact, it's about how they used it. The secret? The magnetic gaze. A subtle but powerful way of making people feel seen and heard at an almost primal level. Here's how to develop it. When listening, keep your eyes on the person longer than feels necessary. Most people break eye contact too quickly, but holding it just a second longer makes people feel deeply valued. When speaking, look at the person as if you're transmitting energy. Instead of just looking at them, look into them, as if you are seeing their essence. This creates a powerful sense of connection. Use soft eye contact when listening, but sharpen your gaze slightly when making a key point. This contrast makes your words hit deeper. When you master this, people will feel an unspoken pull toward you, because true influence isn't just about words, but about how you make people feel in your presence. The fastest way to shift the energy in any room and make people gravitate toward you. Let's be honest. Some people seem to walk into a room and instantly change the atmosphere. They don't force attention, but people notice them. They carry an energy that's both powerful and inviting. So how do you cultivate this invisible force? The key lies in a concept called energy projection. Most people absorb energy. They walk into a room and unconsciously mirror whatever mood is already present. But influential people project energy. They decide what energy they want to bring, and they radiate it outward, shaping the space around them. Here's how to use this in real life. Before walking into any social situation, choose the energy you want to bring. Instead of unconsciously reacting to the room's mood, decide, do I want to project warmth, authority, excitement? Once you choose, embody it fully. Use micro-expressions to signal openness. A slight upward lift in the eyebrows, a relaxed jaw, and an inviting expression make you instantly more approachable. Balance presence with detachment. Be fully engaged in conversations, but maintain an aura of self-sufficiency, like you don't need validation from anyone. This paradox of being both warm and independent makes people gravitate toward you. At the end of the day, the people who shape the world aren't just those who speak the loudest or argue the best. They are the ones who command respect effortlessly, not through force, but through presence. When you master nonverbal influence, you no longer have to chase attention, prove your worth, or fight to be heard. Instead, you become the kind of person people naturally listen to, gravitate toward, and respect, not because you demand it, but because something about you compels it. And that, more than any word you could ever say, is the true power of influence. Chapter 12. The Irresistible Pull of Charisma. How to make people instantly like, trust, and remember you. The hidden formula that makes some people magnetic, and why others go unnoticed. Have you ever met someone who seemed to effortlessly draw people in? They weren't necessarily the loudest in the room, nor the most conventionally attractive, nor even the most accomplished. And yet, wherever they went, people gravitated toward them. Conversations with them felt exciting. Their presence was addictive, and they left a lasting impression. So much so that even days later you found yourself thinking about them. Now contrast that with another experience. You meet someone, exchange pleasantries, and then nothing. The interaction fades into the background, forgotten almost as soon as it happened. They were polite, maybe even smart, but for some reason, they left no real impact. What separates these two types of people? Why do some individuals seem to be naturally charismatic, while others struggle to make an impression, no matter how hard they try? Most people assume charisma is something you're born with, a mystical trait that some people just have. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Charisma is not a personality type. It's not about extroversion or being the loudest in the room. It's not about looks or wealth. Charisma is a set of behaviors, a learnable skill that once mastered makes you unforgettable. And the best part? Once you understand the science behind it, you can instantly boost your own charisma, no matter where you start from. What instantly makes people charismatic and what kills it immediately? Charisma isn't about what you say. It's about how people feel when they're around you. It's about the energy you bring into interactions and the subtle cues that signal, this person is someone special. And while there are many elements that contribute to charisma, 3 core factors determine whether people will find you magnetic or completely forgettable. 1. Presence, the art of making people feel like the most important person in the room. Think about the last time you talked to someone who was truly present. They weren't glancing at their phone, scanning the room, or distracted by their own thoughts. Instead, they were completely focused on you, as if, for that moment, nothing else in the world mattered. How did that feel? Chances are it felt incredible. You felt seen, valued, important. Now think about the opposite experience. Talking to someone who was only half listening, nodding absent-mindedly, their eyes darting elsewhere. Even if they said all the right words, something felt off. It was obvious that, deep down, they didn't really care. Charismatic people understand that presence is a superpower. When you give someone your undivided attention, you create an emotional experience that makes them feel truly valued, and in return, they find you more compelling. To develop this skill, practice deep listening. When someone speaks, give them your full attention. No glancing at your phone, no rehearsing what you'll say next. Just listen. Maintain steady but natural eye contact, just enough to show engagement without making it uncomfortable. React subtly with your facial expressions. Nod when appropriate. Raise an eyebrow in curiosity. Smile in understanding. When people feel that you are completely engaged with them, they will feel an unexplainable pull toward you. 2. Energy. The invisible force that makes people want to be around you. Have you ever noticed that some people have an energy that lights up a room? It's not about being loud or overly animated. It's about the way they make others feel. Charismatic individuals have mastered the art of energy projection. They bring an energy that's infectious, whether it's warmth, enthusiasm, or a sense of calm confidence. And because emotions are contagious, the people around them mirror that energy, making the interaction feel even more magnetic. To harness this power, you must first choose the energy you want to project. Before entering any social setting, ask yourself, do I want to bring warmth and connection? Do I want to exude excitement and passion? Do I want to radiate calm, collected confidence? Then embody that energy fully. Use your tone, body language, and micro-expressions to transmit it. When your energy is deliberate and intentional, people will feel it, and they'll naturally want to be around you. 3. Expression. The secret to making conversations feel effortless and addictive. Some people have a way of making even simple conversations feel exciting. They could be talking about something as mundane as their morning routine, yet you find yourself hanging on to their every word. What's their secret? They know how to express themselves in a way that makes people feel something. Instead of using dry, matter-of-fact language, charismatic people use vivid storytelling, painting pictures with their words so that listeners can see and feel the experience. Emotional tonality, changing their voice, pace, and rhythm to add excitement, suspense, or humor. Engaging body language, using facial expressions and gestures to make their words come alive. If you want people to feel captivated by your presence, start paying attention to how you communicate. Speak with emotion, add expressive elements, and let your personality shine through. How to make people instantly like you without trying too hard. Now that we've broken down the core elements of charisma, let's talk about the practical ways you can apply them in everyday interactions. Number 1, use the mirroring technique to build instant connection. People are naturally drawn to those who feel familiar, and one of the fastest ways to create this feeling is through mirroring. Mirroring is the subconscious act of subtly matching another person's body language, tone, or speech patterns. When done naturally, it signals we are alike, which instantly builds trust and likability. Try this. If someone is speaking in a relaxed, slow-paced manner, slightly adjust your pace to match theirs. If they are using hand gestures, incorporate gentle gestures of your own. If they are leaning in while speaking, subtly mirror their posture. This technique, when used subtly, makes people feel an instant connection with you, without them even realizing why. 2. Use Conversational highlighter. Words to make people feel good. One simple trick that instantly boosts your likability: use words that highlight something positive about the person you're speaking to. Instead of generic responses like, "That's cool," try saying, "That's really interesting. I love the way you think about that. That's impressive. You have a great way of explaining things. That's such a unique perspective. I never thought about it that way before." These small verbal affirmations make people feel good about themselves. And when people associate you with positive emotions, they naturally want to be around you more. At the end of the day, the most charismatic people aren't necessarily the richest, the best looking, or the most outgoing. They are simply those who make people feel good in their presence. When you master the skills of presence, energy, and expression, you become someone people can't help but be drawn to. Not because of what you say, but because of how they feel when they're around you. And that is the ultimate secret to being unforgettable. Chapter 13. The final key to unshakable influence: how to become the person. People follow, admire, and never forget the rare individuals who shape the world, and how you can be one of them. Some people walk into a room and everything shifts. Conversations turn in their direction. Eyes follow them, drawn by something intangible yet undeniable. When they speak, people listen, not out of obligation, but out of genuine curiosity and respect. Long after they leave, their words, energy, and presence linger in the minds of those who encountered them. These individuals, leaders, visionaries, and changemakers, don't just make an impression. They leave a mark so deep that people carry them in their thoughts, decisions, and even their identities. And then there are the others. The ones who are polite but forgettable. The ones who go through life without ever quite being seen or heard the way they wish. They have ideas, talent, and passion, but for some reason, they don't seem to command attention. They don't inspire devotion, loyalty, or admiration in the way the most influential figures do. They are noticed in the moment, but never truly remembered. So, what is the difference? What separates those who shape the world from those who barely leave a ripple? Most people assume that lasting influence is reserved for the charismatic, the wealthy, the powerful, but this is an illusion. True influence, the kind that makes people remember, respect, and follow you for life, is not about status, luck, or even talent. It is about mastering the invisible forces that shape human connection, perception, and loyalty. And once you understand these forces, you can use them to make yourself unforgettable, not through manipulation, but through genuine psychological mastery, deep emotional intelligence, and an unshakable ability to impact those around you. If you've ever wanted to become someone who leaves a legacy, someone whose words and presence continue to influence others long after you're gone, then this is your final key: the 3 psychological laws of lasting influence. Influence is not about what you say in the moment. It's about how people carry you in their minds when you're not there. And to achieve this, you must master 3 psychological laws that determine who people respect, admire, and remember. Number 1. The law of emotional imprint: why people never forget how you make them feel. If you think back to the most influential people in your life, the mentors, leaders, or even the strangers who left a permanent impact, you'll realize something surprising. You don't remember everything they said, but you remember exactly how they made you feel. This is because the brain doesn't store memories based on words or logic. It stores them based on emotion. When an experience triggers a strong emotional response, whether excitement, inspiration, admiration, or even deep discomfort, the brain prioritizes it. It encodes the moment in vivid detail, ensuring that it won't be forgotten. This is why some people fade from memory, while others remain imprinted in our minds for years, even decades. If you want to become someone who is truly unforgettable, You must create high-intensity emotional experiences for those around you. And the way to do this is through emotional contrast. Most people interact at a neutral emotional level, casual, polite, predictable. These interactions don't register deeply in the brain, but influential people create sharp emotional shifts. They make you laugh when you least expect it. They challenge your thinking in a way that shocks and intrigues you. They speak with such passion that you feel their energy on a visceral level. They create moments of deep connection, making you feel profoundly understood. The more emotional contrast you create, by breaking patterns, evoking surprise, or stirring inspiration, the more deeply people will remember you. Circ 2. The Law of Psychological Ownership: How to Become Someone People Feel personally invested in. And there is a reason why some people inspire unwavering loyalty, while others struggle to maintain even surface-level connections. The most influential figures don't just attract people, they make others feel psychologically invested in them. The secret behind this? They don't just give value, they make others feel like they are part of their journey. Human beings are wired to feel a deeper connection to anything they invest their time, energy, or emotions into. This is why we feel a strong attachment to things we build, ideas we contribute to, and people we help. The more someone feels like they have played a role in shaping you, the more they will be invested in your success and presence. Here's how to use this law to your advantage. Ask for advice, even when you don't need it. When people feel like they've contributed to your growth, they feel personally connected to you. Let others be part of your journey. Share your struggles, your progress, your insights. Make people feel like they are on the path with you, not just observing from a distance. Give credit freely. Make people feel like their influence matters to you. When people see their impact on your life, they will feel an unshakable bond with you. By activating psychological ownership, you turn passive connections into lifelong supporters who feel deeply connected to you, your mission, and your growth. The Law of Open Loops: How to Make People Think About You. Long after you're gone, there is a reason why we can't stop thinking about an unfinished story, an unresolved question, or a mystery that leaves us hanging. The human brain craves closure. When something is left incomplete, our minds hold on to it, replaying it over and over, seeking resolution. This is known as the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological principle stating that people remember unfinished interactions far more vividly than completed ones. And if you want people to think about you long after a conversation is over, you must use open loops to create this effect. Here's how you can do this in real life. Leave conversations with a thought-provoking question. Instead of ending on small talk, leave them with something that lingers in their mind. Create curiosity gaps. When sharing a story, hint at something intriguing, but don't fully resolve it. Let them think about it even after you've left. Offer insights that challenge their worldview. When you introduce a new way of thinking, people will keep revisiting your words, trying to integrate them into their understanding. When you master the law of open loops, you don't just make an impression. You create mental presence in others. Even in your absence, you remain in their thoughts. At the core of every truly influential person is not just confidence, charm, or intelligence. It is the ability to shape how people feel, think, and act beyond the moment. It is the ability to leave an emotional, psychological, and intellectual imprint so powerful that people carry your presence with them wherever they go. You don't have to be born with status, wealth, or natural magnetism to achieve this. You simply need to understand how human connection works at its deepest level and use that knowledge with intention. When you master the law of emotional imprint, the law of psychological ownership, and the law of open loops, you will no longer be just another person in the room. You will be the person people remember, the voice they replay in their minds, the presence that shapes their decisions and perspectives. And that is the essence of true, unshakable influence.